Odysseus, The Epic Myth of the Hero, Book 5, Part 3. I drew my sword and said, creeping close alone, I would feel his chest to find the place his midriff holds his liver there, drive my blade up to the hilt, if this, in fact, would save our lives. I paused and waited till Polites, full of shame and puzzlement, waited for the rest. There's not a man among us who will hang back from the fray. We too fought hard around Achilles' poor bloody corpse. Why not destroy the thing that means our death? I pointed with my sword, and every man turned his gaze upon the mighty stone that sailed the cave mouth, sure as if it were a mountain peak, stolen for that task. Spoke again to them. We're not unskilled in war, and might bring death to him, but we could burn each thing inside this cave down to the bones, for light to dig, and eat each scrap of flesh, and never move that stone. We have to wait until he wakes and leaves his flocks outside to pasture, running for the first sure crack of light the monster gives us as he lifts the stone. This said, Archilochus began to wail. This man could fight but lacked endurance, always eager for the end of things, as if his heart could set the course and not the wind. He spoke with crying words and said, wait until the monster rises once again this endless night, and who among us will he rip to shreds and eat for breakfast come the dawn? And then our only plan to dash for light and safety once he lifts a stone? Not I. To try and kill him now is best. This said, he drew his sword and made to go and stab the sleeping Cyclops, but others held him back, and all agreed my plan to be our only chance. We slept with arms in hand, a circle with our backs against the wall, a guard alert inside the rings. Archilochus wept and prayed the whole night long. He cried, but I'm a man, 1,000 times. As if humanity excused his fate, and dead of death he owed the earth. I sickened finally at his fears and said, Mother Earth is vast, and Zeus is everywhere, and as you draw your final breath, could be 10,000 others also draw their own upon this world. The gods themselves relent to fate, how much more so must men? Now sleep's the thing to put some spring into your legs. Trust Father Zeus, and run come dawn, as fast as you are able. That's the way to honor him the best. This said, I closed my eyes and almost slept. Archilochus arose afterwards and left the circle, probably to let his water go. I don't recall him coming back that anxious night. Outside, the dawn did not relieve the gloom that cramped the cave. We only knew it must be light because the monster stirred and rose and puffed a seedling ember up to flame and milked his goats. We watched from our recess and formed a hedge of spears, our backs against the wall. I spoke to each, reminding them about the dreaded work ahead of us. Friends and fighters all, put edge and point upon your courage now. Defend your comrades dearly. Fight to ward him off, but not to kill, for only he can lift away the stone. So poke and stab him in the hands and wrists. Take a swig of wine for nerve, and think of home. Passing a skin from hand to hand in cheer, we noticed then Archilochus was gone, along with one full skin of morrow's wine, and called his name out softly in the flickering gloom. And then we saw where he lay sleeping, right between ourselves and where the monster worked. The fool who wandered off to leak got lost and slept upon the first spot he fell. We couldn't rouse him hissing in the dark, and Megacles, his kinsman and closest comrade, set out to save him before he could be stopped. The monster saw him out of the corner of his eye, swatted kindly Megacles to death against the jagged wall. Then all unknowingly he trod upon the head of night-walking Archilochus. The skull gave way to crushing heel, as would a blood-gorged tick between the nails of thumb and forefinger. It popped as would a watermelon under wagon wheels. The Cyclops gathered up his kills and ate them raw, hands and feet before us, weeping, begging Zeus to give us vengeance for this outrage of his laws of hospitality. The Cyclops, nibbling toe joints like a pauper chews his chicken wings, gave ear to all our cries and curses echoing, and rose, his gut abulge with our dear friends to search us out. We formed a hedge of spears and screamed our hate, each praying truly deep in heart he wouldn't try us. Going down on hands and knees, he looked at us with such an empty gaze. It shocked my soul. The Cyclops had the speech of men. He spit a bone and turned to leave us, walking back to free his flocks. I saw our only chance to come soon happening and spoke these words to urge them all. Now run for any light you see. He cannot stop us all. Do not look back until we meet outside. All dug their heels into the rock to sprint for life, but none got out. He swept us back from light and life with a massive staff, the size of mainmasts found on ships with 20 oarsmen, and set the stone in place again as would a hunter cap his arrows safe inside his quiver. Crying to the gods to save us all, we slumped in gloom and gave our hearts to grief. At length a saving anger cleansed my soul. I prayed to bright Athena that she grant me freedom and revenge. Inside the depths of heart and soul I weaved my wiles to work the Cyclops' woe. Without the sun to mark the passage, dawn to dusk encompassed lifetimes wandering. The monster came with twilight, driving all his flocks inside their pens, warding off our tries at freedom, killing and eating poor Agapenor first, and then the goodly spearman Wakme. He set the stone in place and plopped before his fire, filled a wooden bowl with sweet and dark red wine. Holding it aloft, addressed the stunning monster. Cyclops, here, receive this gift of wine and drink, now that your feast of human flesh is done, so that you may know the cargo and the hold of my lost ship. I brought this wine in hopes you'd pity us and help us get back home, but you behave in ways beyond all bearing. Cruel one, how will any traveler alight upon your shores again, since what you do is not in Zeus's eyes correct? This said, he took the bowl and drained it with a swallow. Pleased, he drank such a sweet and stirring draught and asked for more. Now fill my bowl again, and tell me what your name is at once, so I may give you gifts befitting strangers from afar. For here among the Cyclops, Mother Earth, who gives us grain, bears the grape as well, in lustrous clusters, good for wine, and the rain of Zeus sustains them. Here, however, is a draught from streams of nectar and ambrosia. I handed him yet more full bowls until his wits were addled sure. I spoke to him with winning, scheming words. Cyclops, do you ask of me my widespread name? I will tell you what I'm called by mother, father, foes, and comrades. For my name, recall your oath to give me the gifts that Zeus decrees are due all strangers. Nobody is my name. The Cyclops laughed, and from his bitter, pitiless heart replied, Then I will eat nobody, last among his men, and this shall be my gift to you. He reeled and fell back, and sleep that conquers all took hold of him, and from his guts he puked up chunks of human flesh and rancid wine. With burning heart I roused my men. We found his massive staff, and with my sword I shaped one end into a needle point, and then we pushed it deep in the burning ash until it glowed red hot. The hotter it grew, so grew our nerve to do this deed. We lifted up the stake and thrust it square into his sleeping eye. It sizzled like a glowing sword a smith will plunge in icy water. Blood erupted from the charred and smoking socket, soaking both his nose and mouth and dribbling off his chin onto his matted chest. Horrid cries of agony shook the mountain to its roots. He wrenched the stake out of his eyes and stumbled screaming for the door. His Cyclops neighbors gathered there outside. "What ails you, Polyphemus, that you hother so into immortal night? Is some quick thief among your flocks and driving them away, or does some creature do you violence there inside your home?" It shocked my soul to learn this monster had a name like any man or hero found in song or legend. Leaning hard against the stone, terrible Polyphemus answered them, "My friends, nobody does me harm by guile, not force." This said, they answered him with angry words, "If all alone nobody does you harm, then Zeus has sent a sickness to you. Pray to Lord Poseidon, father of the Cyclops, for relief." This said, they went their way and left the beast to wallow all alone in pain, and in my heart I laughed. My scheme had worked so well. In time the Cyclops groped the stone and moved it from the door and sat inside the entrance, hands outstretched, his voice blubbering his anguish. Fool to think he'd catch us sneaking past. The Cyclops kept some well-fed rams with fleece as dark as violet. 3 times I bound them side by side and bid each man to crawl beneath the center one and dig his fingers deep into the shaggy fleece and let himself be packed to light and life, dragging his heels. Myself I rode the biggest one, all curled up underneath. As soon as dawn appeared, the ruby swirling street, sweet as ever was seen, the rams began to bleat to leave for pasture, and the Cyclops, groaning, ran his hand along the backs of each to search us out, but in his folly did not find a one of us escaping underneath. And last of all the flock, the ram that dragged me walked behind the monster's searching hands. Terrible Polyphemus said to him, "Beloved ram, why are you last to leave the cave? Not once before have you been left behind by sheep or goat, but always eager it was you who led the flocks to pasture, grazing on the tender sprouts of grass. It was always you who reached the river first, and you who longed to come back home at night. But now you are the last of all. You must be full of sorrow for the eye of your poor master, which an evil little man put out along with all his stinking fellows after he had dulled my wits with wine. I tell you, nobody hasn't escaped destruction yet. If only you possessed the gift of speech, then you could say just where he skulks and shadow from my wrath. If I could lay my hands on him, I'd jerk his arms out of the socket and eat him raw and slow, starting at the toes. Then my heart would feel a bit less sad for all the woes that worthless nobody has brought me." This said, he sent the ram out of the cave. At once the beast was in the light. I loosed my grip and fell to earth and freed my men. We ran the flocks down to the beach in haste for fear the Cyclops might be right behind us. Driving all the sheep on board, I bid my crews to man their oars and push away from shore before I let them grieve for all the friends we lost. We struck the gray tossing seas with mighty strokes, back watering. The Cyclops now appeared high overhead on a cliff, and once we'd almost passed the distance men can shout, I hollered mocking words. "Wretched Cyclops, beast, not man, though human speech you bandy heartlessly. The man you thought to eat was not a weakling, though in stature small compared to you. Your evil deeds are now your own, unknowing, undoing, stubborn pig who lacked the brains to fear the gods and ate the guests who came to visit you inside your filthy hovel. Zeus therefore has taken vengeance on you, as well as all the other gods." The monster raged and screamed as if all the slaughtered fighters round the walls of Troy cried their burning wounds at once. He broke a hunk of mountain peak off in his hands and hurled it overhead into the sea just past the tiller's box and made a giant tidal wave, which washed us back up on the shore, our bow beached high upon dry sand. I ran up to the bow, seized a pole, shoved us once again back out to sea. My crew backed water for their lives, and once we'd gotten far enough from shore to turn our bow toward open sea, I ran back to the stern to say one last farewell. My comrades begged me not to goad the monster any further. Stubborn man, why still provoke the savage beast to rage when mountains crumble in his fist? The next big chunk he throws could sink us all. Still I could not dim the anger in my heart nor curb my taunting tongue. Cyclops, animal with human speech, should any mortal ask the shameful blinding of your eye, be sure to tell them all that versatile Odysseus, who sacked the sacred citadel of Troy, the son of Laertes, lord of Ithaca, destroyed your hateful eye. The monster groaned and prayed to dark-haired Lord Poseidon, god of seas and sire Polyphemus. Hear me, Father, if indeed I am your son and you proclaim yourself to be my father. Grant my prayer that devious Odysseus may never reach his longed-for home in Ithaca. However, if it is his fate to reach his native land and see his wife and son again, I beg you keep him gone for many years in sore distress, and also kill each member of his crew, and let him find 100 troubles waiting at his door. Polyphemus wrenched a greater stone and hurled it with anguished strength. It hit the water short of us and roused a tidal wave that pushed us safe far out to sea. So now you know, amazing goddess, all that prompts the hate of Lord Poseidon, misbegotter of bloody monsters, and why the winds and waves clash to keep me far from Ithaca and sweet Penelope.